Hello, everyone. My name is Sotiris Sotiropoulos. I'm a UX researcher and designer. I work for 3Mobile. It's a UK-based telecom company on behalf of Zanch Labs. What I'm going to talk about today, when the slides are ready, is usability testing, how to conduct usability testing in every sprint. That's something based on what we tried in the last year, and we applied it in a real case study, in many real projects with a theme of 3. Can I have my no clicker? Okay. So our initial goal was to improve our decision-making process, how the team could create software that was released directly in front of users' eyes, and instead of going to 1 billion users per week directly, we tested it in a few users at first to see how they react, basically. We tried to create a process, basically, on bringing in feedback from customers, from users, from real users, as a loop in every sprint, and it took a while for us to build that. The setting of the team itself was very helpful for us. We're very lucky to have 3 distinctive factors that assisted us with that. One is that we had no shared resources across our teams, so every single team had their own dedicated UXer, their own dedicated QA. Second, the UX chapter, Maria spoke about it a little while before from Beat. The whole chapter of the UXers across all the teams were the very significant number of 20 UXers at this point, which is used to bounce off ideas and do some proper sanity check on your research. And we had access to users. By any means, the business, and the discussion went like, we don't want to bother our users, we don't want to spend their time or anything like that. We have total freedom to talk to them and access them. Our approach to that during a normal sprint, the sprints that we run are 2 weeks in this particular micro team. The team works in what we call online in-life support. The people that work in telecom companies, they knew that better. So imagine that the sprint has 9 working actual days. The day 0 is basically dedicated to planning and retrospective. So the first 3 days, we dedicated to creating a prototype. The second set of days went to user testing, and the last part to reporting. Starting off from the first day, we basically started working on the acceptance criteria and applying that to our journey, our user journeys. Following Jeff Patton's model, he's one of the speakers today, and his whole book about journey mapping is exactly the process that we follow to do that. Second day, we start working across with all QAs, devs, to see the feasibility of it, and we start creating with the designers the actual wireframes. The third day, we dedicated into creating the actual prototype that will define what the users will see and the activities for our research in order to follow. Passing on to 3 days of user testing, which might seem like a very small time. However, in a sprint, if you start doing usability testing in 3 days, you just by using 3 users each day, we have contacted users already from day 2, and 3 users each day, it's 9 users. It's a very, very distinct number and very useful number to find major problems. It's not the qualitative, it's mainly the qualitative side rather than the quantitative side of it. So it's not the numbers, but it's the affinity mapping and the feedback that they gave us working on that software and try to test and see what doesn't work for them. And the last 3 days were mainly dedicated to reporting, and by reporting I mean the transcriptions that we did and working with all the team, POs involved, QAs involved, developers. We tried to find the best way to look into the data and try to discover the best way to approach the project and approach the second iteration, basically. So imagine by day 9 we have enough information in order to create new user stories from the findings that we got from our research, or improve and iterate to the existing ones, which was way more often the case and very, very useful. So at the end of every sprint, every stakeholder knew exactly what we were going to do in the next one, and they had something that was basically getting out of the building and gathering information and see how this goes with real users, not just assumptions. There were some limitations on this process, which we discovered eventually. One very big limitation is that we had to use, basically we could focus only on one single user journey at each point. We weren't able to user test in more than one user journeys, no matter how many tasks were there. For example, if a user were about to purchase an add-on, we could not do on the same test, I don't know, deleting their account or changing their contract. Another limitation is that this process is not ideal for discovery, product discovery. It's useful when you have a product and it's live, it's basically something that was on the website and users could see it, and we could iterate on that, bring more data, test the new version, and compare it with the live version, which was the benchmark, and that made so much sense for us. And the last part is the transcript completion, basically. So if you do more than, 7 to 9 users is a pretty significant number, and you can use that. It's enough for one sprint and one iteration. However, when we exceeded that and we reached 13 users in a sprint, that created some overload in terms of transcription. And that kind of overwhelmed the team with information, because basically for that short period of time, we have too many information about it. The 3 core benefits and learnings that we learned from that was that we could identify major issues. I'm not talking about seeing if a product will go out in the market. I'm talking about an actual software that we're trying to iterate on some small features, make some small improvements. We were able to identify major impediments very, very fast. We had immediate evidence, so the PO at any given time had enough information in order to make decisions for the next sprint, and they shared that with the stakeholders. And then the third one and most important was that it was a live product, as I told before, so we were optimizing something existing. It was not something built from scratch. If there is a key takeaway about that is just try this at home. Try this with your teams. It's very easy. It's way simpler than it sounds sometimes. So try to bring in some users. Be very reluctant. Don't be reluctant about it, and try to iterate on that. Thank you very much.